I'm supporting Henry Cuellar. He's a valued member of our caucus. He is not pro-choice.
Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is now very publicly going after Nancy Pelosi and Democratic leadership for their support of Henry Cuellar over Jessica Cisneros. So in this video, I will show you where this race is at right now. I will get to details around how terrible Henry Cuellar is. I will show you what AOC said, and I'll also discuss what this means for Democratic leadership to support Cuellar over somebody who is clearly a better candidate. So first here on the race. This is very close. So this is Jessica Cisneros' second time challenging Cuellar. Last time she lost by just a couple thousand votes. Now she is down by only 177 votes. Again, showing you why every vote matters. Summer Lee in Pennsylvania barely won her race, but she was able to win it because of people that came out to vote, even though it was very close. Cisneros here down by, less than 200 votes here. She may still win. I mean, estimated 94% in, so apparently votes still being counted. I guess we're going to have to see where this goes. Cuellar has already claimed victory. This race has not been called. There are still more votes coming in. He may still lose, and there may be a recount. So for him to claim victory is just clearly a strategic move on his part. Now, let me get to first, in terms of this race, because it is so close and because every vote matters, if you are in the Texas 28th district, then make sure you check if your mail-in ballot, if you did a mail-in ballot, has been verified. So if it was rejected, you can call this number and they'll help to cure it. I will link to this below the video in case you are in this district and want to check on that. But now let's get to first Pelosi. So here's what Pelosi said a few weeks ago about Henry Cuellar.
I'm supporting Henry Cuellar. He's a valued member of our caucus. He is not pro-choice, but we didn't need him. We passed the bill with what we had. And by the way, this is one of the first Congresses that we have had with a Democratic president with a pro-choice Congress.
So on one hand, you're saying elect more Democrats, get out to vote, support Democrats because they're pro-choice. They will protect Roe v. Wade. On the other hand, you are backing an anti-choice Democrat, the only one in the House, and saying, oh, just one vote, his vote doesn't matter. There's a bit of a disconnect here. How can you possibly expect people to care about what you say, to respect you, when you have these two conflicting messages? So even apart from the impact on Jessica Cisneros, this just makes not only leadership, but the Democratic Party look bad when they are backing an anti-choice Democrat, someone that has an A rating from the NRA, backing him over somebody who is pro-choice, who actually fights for the working class. Not to mention Cuellar under FBI investigation. Like, you can't add any more to this list. He's backed by AIPAC, Big Oil, NRA. He's anti-choice. Investigated by the FBI. It really is amazing. I'll get to more on Cuellar and those details in a minute here. But first, here's AOC coming out after the race. And I'm almost positive she also, before the race, was criticizing leadership for not backing Cisneros. But here she is, I think, in a more clear fashion, saying this. On the day of a mass shooting and weeks after news of Roe, Democratic Party leadership rallied for a pro-NRA, anti-choice incumbent under investigation in a close primary. Robocalls, fundraisers, all of it. Accountability isn't partisan. This was an utter failure of leadership. So she actually goes on to say a few more things, and I'll get to that shortly. I just want to show you that everything she is saying here is correct. So on the point of him being a pro-NRA, this story from the New York Times in 2019, Representative Henry Cuellar is a proud defender of the Second Amendment, the lone House Democrat from Texas with an A rating from the National Rifle Association. The only Democrat in the House with an A rating. Now, to be clear, this is 2019. It's possible things have changed in a few years, and maybe it's a B now, maybe a B minus. I have no idea. I looked it up. I couldn't find the actual current rating. I'm not sure if they've re-rated him or not, but last I've seen, has an A rating from the NRA. And on that point, here's a email that the NRA sent out back in 2018 saying your freedom is under attack. And they say here to please vote for Henry Cuellar in the 28th district. And so they go through all his, pro-gun positions. And then at the bottom, look at this. P.S. Please don't forget to vote for Ted Cruz, Greg Abbott, Dan Patrick, and Ken Paxton. Every single one of these far-right Republicans. So back Cuellar, Democrat, and back all these far-right Republicans. Showing you, again, if you need any more evidence, what side Cuellar is on. Yet still, Nancy Pelosi, Steny Hoyer, Clyburn all came out to back, not just, endorse him, but did robocalls. Some of them actually went there to campaign with him. Just absolutely insane. And on the investigation, so this here, the AP stated federal disclosures show the 9-term congressman traveled to Azerbaijan in 2013. 2 years later, Cuellar's office announced an agreement between Texas A&M International University and an organization called the Assembly of Friends of Azerbaijan for the purposes of collaborating on oil and gas research and education. Cuellar reportedly has taken his own trips to Azerbaijan and co-chairs the Congressional Azerbaijan Caucus, according to the Texas Tribune. So the investigation is apparently over this. Now, Cuellar's lawyer is claiming, nothing going on here. But the FBI still has not cleared him. So, of course, his campaign claims, no problem, he's cleared, he's fine. Yet when the FBI is asked about this, they do not confirm that. More here from AOC and her reaction. So she tweeted out, Congress should not be an incumbent protection racket, and sadly, it is treated as such by far too many. The fact is, those who fail their communities deserve to lose. They don't need rescuing from powerful leaders who state they fight for gun safety, the right to choose, and more. Texas is 28 is an extremely close race. If Cuellar wins, leadership's decision to go to the mat for a pro-NRA incumbent will be the reason why. If Cisneros pulls out, they will have mobilized against a badly needed grassroots for November and fought against a historic victory. And for what? The last time leadership waded in to save him, he thanked them by obstructing the party's signature legislation, paving the way for the child tax credit to collapse, and imperiling millions while taking a victory lap forward. We can't afford to reward such acts. We can do better. So, of course, she's exactly right. And there's a couple more things I want to share here in a second, but this is... You'll hear me say this a lot, because when it comes to communication, when it comes to what you put out into the world in terms of your media as a elected official or as a candidate, this is the bare minimum. Public fights like this really is the bare minimum. What actually matters is how you vote. Will you support Nancy Pelosi for leadership again? I get that last time, there were no other real options there, but put up somebody. Try to do something. Even if you think they will lose, show some kind of fight, some kind of challenge to her leadership. You can't go out there and claim that she's terrible and leadership doesn't know what they're doing and then just support the same leaders again. So while this is all welcomed and fantastic and great, it really is the bare minimum. What you actually do with your power in Congress, that also matters. But also, to be fair, they don't have these progressives, there's only a handful of them. They can't just pass bills on their own, so there's obvious obstruction there. So one of their biggest assets right now is communication, is trying to change media narratives, and I wish they would do a lot more of that. This is a good start. But a couple last things. Mike Haskett here saying the progressive agenda was fully embraced by the Democratic Party for 3 months at the beginning of 2021. Approval ratings spiked, as did voter sentiment around the direction of the country. Then conservatives and their corporate friends took over, and here we are. And by the way, conservatives includes conservatives in the Democratic Party, not just Republicans. But this is what happened. You had all this hope. They passed that, was it the rescue plan at the beginning of that year, of last year, and actually got help to people. And because of that, approval ratings were high. People saw, hey, New leadership, new president, new Congress, maybe help is actually coming. And then they let it all go. And you could try to put the blame on Manchin or on Sinema. Biden is the president. He could be doing a lot more through executive order. As I've discussed in other videos, he has a ton of executive orders he could be passing to try and do something. He is not doing them, while at the same time not willing to publicly take the fight to Manchin or Sinema. I mean, look at, and I keep mentioning this as well, but it's important to look at the difference here. Look at what the Republican Party did to Madison Cawthorn after Madison Cawthorn discussed what they were doing in their private lives. They destroyed him. They tanked his campaign. He lost his seat. Compare that to what Democrats are doing to Joe Manchin. Nothing. Having a beer with him, discussing it over tea. You're not going to move the man by being kind. At the very least, try being mean. Try doing something. Maybe try investigating his corrupt family, what they're up to, his daughter, the scandal that she's involved in. There are things that they could be doing to put pressure on Manchin and on Sinema, and they're unwilling to even try it. Even if it doesn't work, try something different. Last thing here. To show you maybe AOC is turning over a new leaf, willing to be a little more bold. This came out, I think, today, the 26th. Yes, that's today. Breaking. AOC is endorsing the full slate of New York Democratic Socialist state candidates. So this is good to see. Now, yes, this is the state party, meaning there is less pushback on her for doing something like this. She has endorsed Democratic Socialists in New York State before, so this is not out of the blue. This isn't out of the ordinary. But it is good to see that she's willing to go out there and continue these sorts of endorsements and not be afraid of being labeled a Democratic Socialist, as there is no reason to be, afraid of that. So good to see some, this fight continue in a variety of ways. As I said, yes, this is largely symbolic, these sorts of endorsements, this sort of communication, this sort of, push to change, narratives. But it does potentially have an impact, especially if it continues, if the media picks up on it, begins to maybe discuss Nancy Pelosi and her conflicts when she's endorsing an anti-choice pro-NRA Democrat, and then gets the public on board to think, hey, why do we still have her as leader? Isn't it time for something, someone different? So, it can get the ball rolling. And when you have such little power as a small bloc in the Democratic caucus, this is really one of your ways to try and change things, which is why I wish they would do a lot more of it. Endorse challengers to incumbents, discuss and challenge leadership publicly. If we see more of this, then it's more likely to get picked up by the press and turn it into a real narrative that could ultimately hurt leadership and actually lead to some real changes going forward.